Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Sometimes it's amazing that the government's policies are so convoluted, so ambivalent that they leave not a bad taste in the mouth, but also are liable to create such a scenario that will be politically disastrous, both internally and externally. Prime Minister's visit to India was a disaster for the country and its relationship with India. And it was hoped that as the time went by, things would become better. Unfortunately, what I discussed last time further confused the situation, which was already complicated. The public safety minister did not want to remove the word Sikh from the security report. The foreign minister had said that the people who are terrorists must be identified, but the prime minister wanted the other way around. And the system of the parliamentary democracy, as I discussed at that time, was destroyed. Evidently, the right hand did not know what the left hand was doing. And now comes another news. The foreign minister is going to visit India and discuss Indo-Canadian relations. And a note has been prepared which says that the government of Canada does not support the separate Sikhs. Now, there are various implications. The first implication is, the first major issue that's cropping up is, you do not visit a country when that country is in the midst of political transition. Elections are taking place in India, and visiting at this time is not expected. Suppose, even if it's a very remote possibility, that you come to an agreement with the government and a new government comes which doesn't follow the policies of the present government. Where are you? Just egg on your face once again. The folly repeated, the folly of Trudeau's visit to India, repeated by Freeland's visit to India. She discusses with Sushma Swaraj, the Indian foreign minister, who is not contesting the elections. So, A, the government might go out. B, the present foreign minister would not be there. Somebody else would come who may be hardliner. C, the different government may be there. So this whole jaunt is an unnecessary expenditure at the cost of the exchequer money. Secondly, why is the government of Canada so ridiculous in discussing a subject which is of no interest to the common people? This is possibly the only country where the government seems to be involved with this situation that concerns a different country, a friendly country, a member of Commonwealth, a up and coming economy. And we sometimes annoy them by removing the perpetrators of terrorism in India, or we try to shelter the terrorists indirectly, though. Directly, we always say that we are not in favor of the separatist lobby. But it's a different game they are playing. Why is it that we cannot ignore that thing in Canada? If a referendum takes place, it takes place in Canada and England. Why? The Sikhs living here have absolutely no justification and no right to interfere in what happens in India, except as citizens of the world. And they have no say in that. Secondly, the Canadian society, by and large, is not concerned with that. Sikhs are just 1.8% of the Canadian population. And to give undue recognition is not accepted. Not accepted by the vast majority of Canadians. Can you believe that I have heard people say that they already have much more than proportional representation both in the House of Commons and in the Cabinet. And even Prime Minister Trudeau took that credit that he has a larger Sikh contingent than Prime Minister Modi has in India. Now, the parliamentary motion denouncing Sikh Khalistani extremism and glorification of any individual who has committed an act of violence had to be dropped. Why? Because some Sikh activists complained. Why is it that we cannot condemn terrorist activity in a different country? Now they play a different game. 12% of the Trudeau's cabinet are Sikhs, with 1.2% population. And this time Trudeau will likely face NDP's leader Jagmeet Singh as one of the opponents for the prime ministership. The overrepresentation in Canadian politics has already secured inflated influence for this minority within a minority constituency of the Khalistani separatists. Sikhs are a minority, as I said, 1.8%. Khalistanis are still a minority of that minority, and the government is either afraid of them or has a sneaking sympathy with them. And then, imagine it. Canada wants a visibly multicultural democracy. Accept it. Okay, I have no complaint about that. That's fine. But there's a marked difference. And the marked difference between empowering a diverse population to express its full range of opinion and, on the other side, pandering to a small faction that has learned a very good lesson. They mobilize their grievances most efficiently, which the others have not been able to do. The Hindus have not been able to do, but the Muslims and the Sikh Khalistanis have been able to do that, so they snatch the benefits. And this mobilization, this strategic action of these parties, these groups, the minority within minorities, plays havoc with the Canadian policy, both internal and external. Internally, it gives rise to a strong sense of resentment. And the resentment is not only against the government or the political parties supporting those sections, but is also against the community as such. And there's a justification for that. You cannot have benefits and then expect that the people will not be unhappy about it. The sense of entitlement has to go. Entitlement is antithetical to the basic principles of democracy. And this minority within minority having a well-developed strategy to overall to influence the political leaders has been able to take a large share of the resources, of the representation and everything, which is not acceptable. Internationally, you are annoying two countries. India, of course, because of this, and China because of your trade policy. About that, I'll come in a different talk on a later date, maybe tomorrow. But then coming to India, the population in India, 0.01% maybe who are Khalistani supporters, total population of India. But otherwise, people by and large are happy here. Even in Punjab, more than 90% people do not support Khalistanis. So why is the government, the liberal government, bent upon spoiling relations with India for the sake of that minority? If it was justified, yes, I would do it. But it's not justified on any count. And now comes the major issue. One side, you have a convicted terrorist who was guilty of attempted murder of a visiting Punjab minister as a guest of the Prime Minister. It happened in Bombay during the last visit. You have been guilty of removing and placating Sikh minority by removing the word Sikh terrorists from the report. You have been guilty of cowardice in expressing strong resentment against the terrorist activities. And then you want to annoy that minority of minorities by going to India with a specific request to the government to please ignore those inane actions, because really the government of Canada is not in favor of that group. Again, a very ambivalent policy. Such a policy doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help even the terrorists or the terrorist sympathizers, because they cannot bank on this government. Today they are being supported. Tomorrow the government would not hesitate to clamp down on them. And the public as a whole would not be happy, should not be happy. So internally you have dissensions, you have heartburning, you have bad feelings. Bad feelings among the communities themselves. There was a lot of resentment, and the Hindu community had petitioned. Unfortunately for them, fortunately for the Canadian population, they do not have such strategies, and they think that only submitting some petitions would help them. No. But they have had resentment. So there's a heartburning already. Even in the mainstream, people have not been able to take kindly to this pampering of separatist forces. Because they should not forget, if you are supporting separatists here, other countries can support Quebec separators as well. So how would you feel at that time? So internally you are sowing the seeds of dissension, seeds of discontent and resentment, which is going to reverse and result in social strife in the long run. Externally, You are annoying a major country of the world and burning your boats in South Asia. Are you being sensible? I don't think so. Are you being pragmatic? Not at all. Are you capable of asserting your identity? No. All things considered, it's high time that the Canadian politicians wake up. Wake up to the realities of the situation and take pragmatic, realistic, nationally and internationally relevant decisions. Think about it. Thank you.